Now, local congressional reaction, both sides of the aisle, to the U.S. Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. We'll begin with local Republican Congressman Brian Mast, who talked to our Stephanie Susskind.
The decision that was laid out by the Supreme Court to say this is not enshrined in the Constitution as a constitutional right. This has been iffy on both sides. I think that can be safely said on both sides of people dissenting in the Supreme Court, that is to say. And so that's where they came down to this decision. Now, to get personally into what my beliefs are on this, look, I'm a father and I'm a soldier. I've taken life. And I've helped to bring life into this world. I know the difference between evil. I know the difference between innocent. And I think that's in the end what we're talking about here. We're talking about the most innocent lives that exist. And when is that life a life? There's not a constitutional right to take the life of an innocent child, in my opinion. And I believe that the Supreme Court has upheld that. I am all for pregnancy planning and bringing a child into this world in the most thoughtful way. That's what my wife and I did. We brought 4 children into this world in the most thoughtful way we could. And prior to that, as I said, I was very experienced with taking the most evil lives out of this world. And we should not confuse the difference between the two of those things.
Stephanie also talked via Zoom to local Democratic Congresswoman Lois Frankel.
It's not a surprise, and still it is a setback for human rights of shocking proportions. This is one of the saddest days in American history. Today's Supreme Court decision takes away a person's power to make their own personal decisions about their reproductive health, about their life, and about their future, and instead gives it to politicians, and it disproportionately impacts low-income people and people of color. And if you read what Justice Thomas said in his opinion, this ruling opens the door. It opens the door for states to ban or severely restrict access to birth control, to same-sex marriage, to interracial marriage, and more. This is an unjust decision, and the people of this country must fight back. And I'll be first in line to do that.
Back now with our political analyst, Brian Crowley. And Brian, understanding that we're getting opinions at first blush all this weekend, I know early on when the draft opinion was leaked, a conservative columnist said that Justice Alito and others had taken pains to say this does not open the door to do away with same-sex marriage, issues like contraception as well, that I believe in the Oberfeld case. Correct me at home if I'm wrong on my case history there, but I think I've got that right. That's going to be part of the debate too. You and I are not qualified or not plain legal experts, but it does speak to part and parcel. You see it with our local congressional delegation, you see it elsewhere, the kind of debates that will be ongoing from this.
Well, Justice Thomas, in his concurring opinion, does allude to the fact that some of those issues could be taken apart, same-sex marriage, contraception, and some other issues, because they too fall under the doctrine of this decision that the Constitution doesn't apply. So Congresswoman Frankel is correct. There's certainly that potential out there, but it's not certain that the other 5 members on the decision side there agree with Justice Thomas on that particular instance. So we'll see if these cases come up down the road.
But it does speak to the fact that it's still a dynamic process as to what can happen in the state legislature. We talked about that in the first part of our broadcast, what can happen in other states. An example of that, the Tampa Bay Times had said, remember, and this is from Tampa Bay Times analysis that I pulled off, the U.S. Constitution doesn't specifically include the word privacy in its text. The Florida Constitution does. They went on to say in this Tampa Bay Times analysis, in a 1989 case, the state Supreme Court ruled the privacy clause, this is in Florida, covered the right to an abortion. The point of all that is legal experts are going to look at that. You're going to see lawsuits come out of that. So the notion that we'll necessarily have some quick decision about what the future of abortion rights are or are not in Florida, depending on the side of the issue you're on, is something that we simply cannot know this early on.
Yeah, there were some Florida lawsuits filed recently challenging the 15-week limit on abortion. The Privacy Act and part of the state constitution is, as you noted, not in the U.S. Constitution. So there will be some lawsuits that will suggest that because of Florida's Privacy Act and the Constitution that they can't interfere with abortion. We'll see. You know, most of the Florida Supreme Court has been appointed by Governor Ron DeSantis. If you're looking for that, you know, it's there. In fact, there are no liberals on the Florida Supreme Court, so it will be very interesting to see how they decide when that gets to them.
Your broader thought: nearly 50 years, Roe v. Wade had been considered for so long settled law by many. Two sides that have sharply divergent and passionately held beliefs. Today, those who believe that life begins at conception and that the Constitution does not provide protection or a right to an abortion are saying that our case, our moment has come. Your thoughts, Brian?
Well, first off, Roe v. Wade was always flawed because of the trimester system, and there was never an unlimited right to abortion within Roe v. Wade. And many legal scholars over the years believe that ultimately there would be some changes, for no other reason, with medical science changing viability. But perhaps more important is we've had nearly 50 years of controversy of Roe v. Wade, it always being a significant political issue. And unfortunately, with this decision, that doesn't change. We'll have probably more decades of this being a hot, angry political issue between two sides that feel very strongly about these issues of abortion. And I just don't see it ending. And in some ways, I wish government had never been involved.
And perhaps the one big change is that heat, that political debate, will in a more focused manner, come to the state level, to the Tallahassees and the capitals around the nation.
Absolutely.
Brian, we'll be back with your closing comment in just a moment.